lost all control. Her gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She caught me with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. All right, everybody, welcome to another fine edition of the Paranormal Portal, Bedtime Stories from Beyond. And I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and you're now stuck with me. That is, unless you change the channel or something vile like that, but I know you won't do that. But anyway, welcome to the show, everybody. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. We had a lot of fun last night showcasing Wes's manscaping commercials, which were absolutely hilarious. The guy's like a creative genius. It's really cool. Very cool show. I don't know, segments? I don't know what to say. Very cool promotions, I guess is the right words. But they're a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun listening to them. I'd heard one of them before, but last night it was the first one I heard about Merkel. That was hilarious. Very well done. But anyway, guys, hope you guys are having a great day. Thank you so much for being here with me on the portal and for the bedtime stories as well. Just got everything lined up for Saturday's show. We're going to be joined by Miss Amy Bew, who is a Bigfoot researcher, wonderful person. Don and I met her for the first time at the Bigfoot Roundup that we went to in Spokane, Washington. Just a great person, just really, really nice, wonderful, pleasant. She did a presentation of her research, and she is actually working really closely with primatologists in her research as well, which I thought was really fantastic. And she may be one of the first out there that is doing that, and it's just really going to be a great discussion. So I hope you guys will tune in on Saturday night and join us for that discussion. So again, Saturday night, we are joined by Amy Bew, and if you're not familiar with her, you will be on Saturday, and you will agree with me that she is doing some really great things out there, and I think has a really unique and cool approach. So that'll be Saturday's show. Friday, of course, is just me so far, so I hope that's okay. But I'll do my best to make it interesting. So I hope you guys are all ready, because it's time for bed. All right, everybody, here we go. I guess we're now underway on the Paranormal Portal Bedtime Stories from Beyond. And before I go, well, let me wait just a couple minutes, because I know people will still be filing in for a while. But I just, Don and I have been recording today. I recorded a conversation I had with an over-the-road truck driver, and he shared with me a lifetime of experiences that I recorded. We will be doing a new... We've actually recorded our podcast for tomorrow, which will be a cryptids episode. And it's not just your normal cryptids. We found a whole laundry list of other weird, unusual cryptid reports that are out there. So we hope that you'll definitely check that out tomorrow on our podcast. I just think there's some things I've never even heard of that people are running into out there, and are they fabrications of creative minds? Are they genuine reports? And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's possible and what's not possible, and I don't make any assertions to that measure. But the portal is always about discussing ideas in the paranormal, And it's a really cool. It was a really cool episode. I learned a lot doing it, and I hope you guys will check it out. That'll be tomorrow on our podcast. It'll be available after midnight tonight. So hope you guys will check it out. Just really interesting stuff that we ran into as we were doing the show, and a lot of fun. And as well, I as I mentioned, I had a conversation today with a long over the road truck driver, and he shared with me a whole series of his experiences, which I recorded, and that will probably be Monday's podcast. Just a really great discussion, really nice guy, and he's had some really amazing experiences. So I hope you guys will tune in for that on Monday. But a lot of great things happening, and I've just been running today. Just hit the ground running. I've been on the phone, been doing podcasts, been researching, answering messages, but it's just really been a great day. A lot of things going on, a lot of things happening. So that's kind of the updates. Now we got 23 people in here now. The list will continue to climb, but I'm going to start out tonight's episode with kind of a public service announcement, okay? Because I didn't know this, and I'm betting that probably several of you didn't notice this or didn't know this either. Maybe several of you did, but I know that in my growing up, nobody bothered to tell me about this. And so I'm going to share it with you guys, and I'm going to put it on screen because there's a picture involved. Now, this doesn't have anything to do with the paranormal, but it does have to do with the weather's getting cold, and I don't know. I'm sure I've done this very thing, but I'm going to share it with you guys. And here's just what it is. It says, here's why you don't plug space heaters into power strips. So this is like the Paranormal Portal community service message of the week. This is an actual photograph of a power strip that failed because of a space heater being plugged into it. So I just thought it was too important not to pass out this knowledge to any of the listeners out there. And I think this is absolutely terrifying. I know I've done this very thing many times, and thank God nothing like this has happened to me. But it says a fire department is warning the public about the dangers of plugging a space heater into a power strip. It says the Umatilla County Fire District in Oregon posted the warning on its Facebook page with a picture of a melted power strip. And that's this picture. And it says the weather is getting colder and people are pulling out their space heaters. And we just wanted to remind you that you should never plug a heater into a power strip. The fire department wrote on its Facebook page, these units are not designed to handle the high current flow needed for a space heater and can overheat or even catch fire due to the added energy flow. Please share and stay safe this winter season. The Electrical Safety Foundation International says heating equipment is the second leading cause of home fires in the U.S., with more than 65,000 fires being attributed to them each year. The ESFI reports the fires result in hundreds of deaths, thousands of injuries, and millions of dollars in property damage. So, again, don't plug your space heaters into power strips. They just can't handle it, and this is absolutely sobering to me. I just thank God that I hadn't run into this myself. I know I've done this, probably hundreds of times, and it's just not worth the gamble. My God. So please be careful out there with your fire strips or your power strips, and don't use them for space heaters. So that concludes our public service announcement for tonight. I never heard of this. I never had any idea, but that's absolutely terrifying. So yeah, exactly, Alden. And that's why I'm putting it out on the show. I mean, it has nothing to do with the paranormal, but I'm telling you, I've done that very thing many times, and I wouldn't have had any clue if I hadn't read that, but makes sense. So, that's a great question. Anyone going to the Texas Bigfoot Conference on the 18th, 19th, and 20th? I wish I was, but no. I haven't heard anybody talking about it in here, but what a great opportunity that would be to go. I'd love to go down there and hang out with you guys. I know you guys will be there. But, thank you, Gemini. Yeah, I just think it's great information to put out there wherever people have a show. I mean, that's just too important. And you think of all the house fires that happen, and you have to wonder, well, how many of them were because of people running heaters off of power strips? Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully that message will spread fast, though. So anyway, let's get into it tonight. I got a bunch of stories lined up for you guys as usual. The call board is open. If you want to call in and be a part of the show, you are welcome to. I would love to hear your takes on this. I have to apologize because last night we kind of ran out of time when I noticed there were phone calls on the board. And I know we answered one, but there was another phone call from Dee Swiger that I didn't get a chance to get to, and then she ended the call. Obviously, we had run out of time anyway. On Wednesday shows, we can go long if we need to, but I do apologize. I'm just getting used to the call board being over here, so I'll keep watching as well as I can. And as I'm reading the stories, hopefully it'll be easier for me to see. That's why I'm trying it out anyway. But I do apologize. I don't ever like to leave calls and not answer them. But my apologies, Dee, if you're in there. It was not intentional for sure. Okay, so let's see who's here so far. We got Five Hazel in here. Hello, Five Hazel. Beth Fierce. Hi, Beth. Bigfoot Odyssey. Carrie's in here. Brian the Duke Sullivan is in here. Claudia Smith is in here. Dee Singer. LM. It's funny. LM. That's cute. Gemini Moon is in here. Hi, Gemini and L. Isaac Areola is here. Joe Kukowski's here. How you doing, Joe? Cade is in here. How you doing, brother? Good to see you from down under. Again, Cade Moya is from Australia and has the Believe podcast. So if you want even more of that paranormal goodness that we all seem to love, head over and check out his podcast. Does a great job. Really a great job. Linda's in here. Hello, Linda. Lewis. How you doing, Lewis? Thanks for the Skype message. I appreciate that. Matthew Learned. Hello, Matthew. Mogayon. Hello, Mog. And Rick, a.k.a. Purple Hobbit. How you doing, Rick? Real Deal is in here. Hi, Real Deal. Robert Edgington. Hello, Robert. Suzanne, Paige, and Tales of Darkness. Great to see you guys. Tales of Darkness. I don't recognize that name, but thank you for coming in. It's wonderful to meet you. Welcome to the show. I'm sorry if you've already been here, but it seems familiar. Like either I've checked out your show at some point or another, or you've been in here before. But it's good to see you back, or welcome, whichever it is. I don't always remember. My personal dyslexia is names. So after I've known you for a while, it's no problem. But anyway, MeWe rocks. Yeah. It's kind of a cool platform, Duke. I like MeWe as well, but I wish more people would head over there. There's more and more coming all the time. But anyway, so we got stories for you tonight, everybody. So buckle up, and hope you didn't mind that public service announcement. But that just terrified me when I saw that. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do my part to try to spread the information about that. So again, no space heaters on power strips. Okay. Let's go to the first story tonight. This one's coming out of Oregon. Says, Thursday, a friend of mine, we'll call him Ryan, flew into town for a visit. I stayed with him in his hotel because I haven't seen the kid in ages, and my dad had gone on a business trip, and I wasn't going to be home alone. Anyway, we were laying there and talking and watching television, and he said he started to feel something. Wait a minute, I read this one. Sorry about that, guys. I gotta get better about closing things that I've already read. I leave stuff open on my screen all the time, and then I end up repeating stuff. So I apologize for that false start, but it's just kind of par for my day. This one's coming from Colorado. Sorry about that, guys. It says, I've had 3 experiences with sleep paralysis so far in my lifetime, and they've all occurred this very year. It says, my first encounter was in a dream. It was in the middle of the night, and I dreamt that I just went to bed. I woke up in my dream seeing some text floating on the ceiling. That's weird. It was a prophecy. It said something about Tom Sawyer, and the ghost was going to haunt me. Well, I was frightened and tried to go to my mom's room. Along the way there, I froze multiple times. I couldn't move, talk, or scream. I felt like a statue in a moving position. The hallway to my mom's room lengthened, and it took longer to reach it. Just as I was about to step into the room, I woke up. The second encounter was in a near waking experience. I was half awake, half asleep, and was in laying down face up position, and had an awkward dream. And there was this random guy from my school saying, every time she looks at me as if I'm a freak or something. I certainly didn't look at people that way. and was pondering on the thought until I heard footsteps arriving into my bedroom. Then later, I heard in a lower tone, every time she looks at me as if I'm a freak or something. Well, I started to freeze up and couldn't do anything. I tried to move my arms, and it felt as if they were being stuffed with miniature beads, like a stuffed animal. I felt hands choking me around my neck, and this process happened for several minutes, and after that time, I was finally able to move again. The third time was a lot less frightening because I knew I would snap out of it, and it was again in a dream, and I went to the bathroom to wash my hands, and suddenly something possessed me, and I was paralyzing me. And I came downstairs to see my family and another person I knew just sitting on the couch, thinking that I was a freak. I tried to tell them, but they wouldn't listen to what I was saying. I was thrown onto the couch and started to slide off. Again, I woke up just after that. Does this have anything to do with ghosts, or am I just hallucinating? So here's the thing with sleep paralysis, and it's something we've covered a bunch of times. The traditional belief is, from way back into antiquity, is that the old hag syndrome is the most commonly referred to when people talk about sleep paralysis, and that's because most times or many times when people experience these events, they also experience the apparition of what looks like a haggard old woman approaching them and pinning them down and choking them and just brutalizing them. And they're helpless to do anything because they're in this frozen state. Now, I will say that I really do believe there is truth to the scientific logic for this, in that apparently our bodies release a chemical when we're sleeping to kind of disconnect our brain from our body, because otherwise people may be running out of windows because they're dreaming they're running in a marathon or something. It's maybe a survival mechanism of sorts, because we do dream. And what the belief is that people sometimes wake up prior to that chemical being cleared from our system. And so they're in this aware but stuck state, and they can't move. And I think that's a valid phenomenon that happens to some people. Now, I don't necessarily believe it explains all of those situations away, but it certainly could explain some of them. There are so many situations people report seeing, feeling things attacking them, seeing apparitions, seeing things pinning them down. Could those be spiritual? Yeah, I guess they could. I mean, I don't pretend to know for sure, but I will say that I don't think that all of them are paranormal, and I don't think all of them are just simply a scientific misfire or a biological misfire. I think that perhaps there's both. I don't know. And perhaps the scientific version maybe explains what could be happening during the paranormal ones. Perhaps these entities are able to manipulate us to wake up prior to that chemical being out of our bloodstream. And perhaps that's part of that, quote unquote predation, because it's largely believed by many that there are entities that seem to draw from our life force or our energy or something. And so perhaps they're utilizing this as a manner to keep us helpless while they, quote unquote feed, for lack of a better term. And I don't know. It's all speculation, but the portal is always about discussing ideas and thoughts about these things. So that's my 2 cents on it. And there's no way to know which is which, I guess. But if you feel like you're already dealing with something spiritual, and then you have those kind of attacks, and you are perceiving an entity, then I guess it's fair to say that it may very well be paranormal. But if it's just something unusual that only happens that you can't wake up and you feel like you're frozen, then that's probably just clinical sleep paralysis. I don't know. Just my 2 cents, whatever that's worth. But I got the microphone, so you get it, of course. So this one is coming from Colorado, and it has to do with apparitions and such. So in the last couple of weeks, I've experienced some clues to a ghost boy in my house. Over the days of June 20th to 25th, some weird things have begun to happen. At first, I was here in the computer, in the computer, just says in the computer, and then my mom started telling me, "Hey, have you heard what your brother told me?" "No, Mom." He told me that when you entered the door to come into the house, he saw this little boy with a red jacket and a red hat. Exactly when he entered, he went over to the kitchen and then to the bathroom. Well, I wanted to run out of the computer, and I felt this cold chill, but I decided to stay chatting with my friends. I don't understand how we got there. He was just talking to his mom. I wanted to run out of the computer, and I felt this cold chill, but I decided to stay chatting with my friends. Then last time I went to the bathroom, I was all calm, and then the light turned off and then on again. That was quick, but it still gave me the creeps. Then when my friend came over, because she moved and we don't see each other that much, we were eating, and then the computer moved on its own. Now, I wasn't that scared when that happened, and I don't know why. Last time that we were all eating, my family and I, the mixer just went on by itself. And lastly, when my grandma and I were watching television, the door opened by itself. I'm barely 12 years old, and I hope that these things won't keep on happening. Yeah, that's all kinds of creepy when you're so young anyway. Ugh. Well, I hope they get that sorted. All right, here's another one from Pennsylvania, ladies and gentlemen. We're heading to Pennsylvania. So it was September, and last year, my brother and I were watching television. It was hot that night, and I was going to sleep in the back room because it had an air conditioner. My brother didn't mind, so he slept in the middle room watching television that night. That night, sleeping in the bedroom or the back room was the only time I felt so uncomfortable in that room. I turned the air conditioner on, and I was trying to sleep, and my head was facing the wall. Then I felt a presence as if I was being watched. I didn't really feel anything evil, but it felt as if whatever was watching me was really angry and upset and also sad. I heard breathing behind me, and it got louder and rougher until I heard a loud scream in my ear. I was so petrified, but I faced the spirits before, and I was just scared because, well, that was enough to give a guy a heart attack. So I said, "In the name of Jesus, whoever you are, who are you?" All I heard was a lady's voice say sadly, oh, I got to do the effect. "You're not him. I'm sorry." And suddenly I felt as if the spirit left while still facing the wall. I was angry because I wish I could have replied or helped. So the next day I was on the computer checking the history and stories of my neighborhood. My neighborhood has had a couple of deaths, but not suicidal deaths or killing. Most here died from heart attack or disease or old age. But I read a story about my neighborhood from hundreds of years ago about a lady, her 2 children, and her husband. And I'm not sure if the story was real or not, but it was closely related to my encounter with the spirit. In the 1800s, there was a lady and her family. Like I said on my last paragraph, it was her 2 children, both daughters, and her husband. The husband was a kind, loving person, but had a horrible drinking problem, and when he drank, he was abusive. One day, while the 2 daughters were having fun with their leisure time, her husband came home drunk again, and this time it was worse. He came in knocking everything down and scaring his daughters, and he took the 2 daughters and put them in his car. The wife ran to her husband saying, "What are you doing with my babies?" The husband said, "You don't need them. Those kids are mine." The story says he beat the wife and took the 2 daughters, and then it says he committed suicide. Then even after death, she's said to still be looking for her children, who her husband had taken from her. Her spirit is white, and you must see her at night looking at you, seeing if you are her children. If you're walking down the street and you hear her screams of the ghost woman saying, "Where are you?" Or you could hear her screams and think that it's very likely what happened to me. I wrote this story as clear as I can put it, and I'd like to hear any opinions. Well, that's hard to know. Could that be true? I suppose. Any kind of sad, tragic event would leave an imprint. Perhaps it could keep someone from crossing over because they want to find their children. But man, what a tragic story. All right, here's another one. California. California dreaming. I bet you it's warmer in California than it is here. Ugh. All right. I'm not going to whine about the weather again, but I don't like it getting cold. Firstly, I'd like to say this is not my own experience, for I have never witnessed the paranormal, and this story is one of my old friend's cousins. My old friend's cousins. I'm simply a storyteller spreading the loving message of this tale. For privacy and respect for the dead, I have changed the names of everyone involved. Lane and Tara were twin sisters who loved each other very much. Life was great to them, and they befriended many souls. However, fate decided to pay them and a few friends a visit one night on New Year's Eve. Tara and Lane had gone to a New Year's Eve party and hooked up with two of their closest friends, Megan and Ryan. The ball had dropped, and the New Year's was here. They had practically lost count of the time as well as how many drinks they had had. Well, it was about 3 a.m. When Megan had gotten a call to pick up her boyfriend at the airport since his plane would take off and land in a few hours. Megan agreed and asked Ryan, Lane, and Tara if they wanted to come along. Well, they all agreed, even though they were all moderately intoxicated. It was around 4 a.m. when they hit the road to go pick up Megan's boyfriend at the airport, since he said he would be in around 5. Ryan, who was driving, was exhausted, though they all were, and while everyone else dozed off in the car, Ryan tried desperately to keep his eyes open and on the road. Exhaustion overcame him, though, and he dozed off to sleep on that busy freeway. The car swerved into the left side and into oncoming traffic, smashed head-on with another car, and Megan was killed instantly, flying through the front window and losing her face on the hot tar of the road. That's horrible. Ryan was severely hurt and would never walk again, and both of the twins needed urgent care and were rushed to the hospital. Lane's mother came into her hospital room to check on her after the accident. "Where's Tara, Mom?" Lane asked. Her mother held back tears. "Lane, sweetie, Tara's dead." Her mother said, and then tears running down her eyes. "That's impossible, Mom. During my operation, she was standing right next to me the whole time, holding my hand and telling me everything would be okay." Lane lived, but always felt her sister's presence around her. Ryan dived into depression, but is currently seeking help now, and Megan's boyfriend, his plane got delayed that night, and he wasn't even waiting at the airport. Well, thanks for reading the story. I hope it touched you. I think that's absolutely tragic. I don't know about touching you. I think that's terribly tragic. It touched me in the tragic part. I don't think it's a positive story at all. I mean, that stuff happens. I guess it's positive that she was there with him while he was in surgery and stuff, but still, what a sad story. Well, let's continue on and see what else we can find here. This one's coming from Alabama. Sweet home. That's what I've heard. My first experience with the paranormal happened when I was 5 or 6 and living in Florida with my family. I'm 48 years old now, and this is one experience is so etched into my memory that when I recall it today, it's still as clear as if it just happened to me just moments ago. We lived on a cattle ranch not far from Bushnell, Florida. At the time, in the 60s, there was no streetlights on the ranch and just gravel road across cattle grates to our small, isolated ranch house in the pasture. I remember going to the screened-in back door that night and seeing my mother standing in the square of light cast out from our kitchen through the door and into the backyard, and she was raking out scraps for the dogs into their dog pan. And she saw I was at the door and asked me to bring the flashlight that always sat on our kitchen counter. Well, I took the flashlight to her without a question in my mind, and she cast a beam of light down the dark pasture where I could see 2 orange eyes faintly glowing in the dark. "What is it, Mama?" I remember asking, and she replied that she had been watching the eyes for a little while. She thought it might be a cow at first, but the eyes were too close to the ground. We watched as the eyes started down the pasture towards some large trees that grew at the side of our house, and the eyes didn't move like cow eyes in a slow plodding way, but smoothly, more like a bird in my mind, and they remained close to the ground and always watching us with their orange glow. It glided smoothly to a huge live oak tree that grew maybe 25 feet from the house. Then the eyes did the strangest thing. They turned parallel to the tree's trunk and glided up the side of the tree for about 15 feet, disappeared around the back of the huge trunk, and then out onto the first branch that grew on the opposite side of the tree. I remember my mom saying, "That's no cow." Yeah, they don't usually climb trees. Softly as she traced the flashlight beam along the limb underneath the eyes, and the beam caught no sign of fur, feet, or any kind, just blackness of the night. The eyes disappeared into a large clump of leaves at the end of the branch. My mama and I ran to the back door, through the house, and out onto our front porch. My daddy was sitting on the couch with the younger children watching a comedy on television, and I remember it must have been a comedy because I remember laughter from the audience or soundtrack. Dad said, "What is it?" My mom and I said almost the same time, "There's something in the pasture," before we ran out into the porch. We stood in the light cast from the front door and watched the end of the tree branch bouncing up and down wildly in the flashlight beam. Daddy was trying to corral the younger children back from the door. I remember turning around to see what he was doing. When I turned back, the moon started to rise over the flat Florida landscape, casting a bluish glow. Now we could see without aid from the flashlight. The branch bounced up and down, and I remember the rustle of leaves, and a curious smell came to me on the night air, like burning wood. The branch stopped bouncing because the owner of the eyes had jumped out of the tree and onto the gravel road in front of our house. For a moment, it was obscured by the hanging, still bouncing dump of leaves, and then it started to move down the road in front of our house. The moon showed the owner of the orange glowing eyes, glowing more brightly now in the moonlight. It was no cow, for whatever it was, stood on two spindly legs like animal legs that ended in two thin, narrow hooves. From the legs upward was a huge body with no discernible arms and a hump of a head and two very long straight horns that curved slightly upward at the ends. The entire body was pitch black and at least 6 feet tall from the hoof to the horn end, the only color being the bright orange eyes. This thing hopped on its two legs down the road, and I could hear the shifting crunch of gravel and see blue sparks fly as its feet came back down onto the road. My mom and I, accompanied by my dad, piled into the house and slammed the door. We were breathing as if we'd run a race. My daddy, from his position with the back against the door, said breathlessly, "That's a plat eye. Plati. Huh. There's a treasure buried near that tree." I didn't understand then, but years later I discovered exactly what a plat eye is. In Southern legend, plat eyes are the ghosts of murdered animals that are set to guard hidden treasure by a living human. Daddy never dug up around the tree to see if there was a hidden treasure, believing whatever treasure might have been was cursed. This singular incident from my young life set me on the road to being a true believer in the flip side of the coin from our reality. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that things exist in our world which are almost beyond reason to explain. Many occurrences have befallen me in my life, but I'll save those for another day. So a plat eye. Wow. I've never even heard of that before. I guess this is like a learning day for me for sure, because as I was explaining, we covered all these different cryptids, some of which I'd never heard of, and now a plat eye. P-L-A-T and then E-Y-E, plat eye. Huh, I've never heard of that legend before, never heard of any sightings of it before, but that's pretty intense. All right, this one might have to do with demons. Again, I find that the word demon gets really wildly overused in the paranormal, but it's possible. So let's see what the story has to say. And it's coming out of Texas. So let's find out about Texas here. Have any of you guys heard of Plat Eye? I'm kind of curious. Any of you in the chat room or those of you watching the video, if you leave me a comment, I'd love to hear more about this legend. I've never heard that ever before, so this is a first for me. I think it's absolutely wild. I think I would have buried or unburied that treasure because it might be worth finding, even with a curse. The thing with curses is that they can be cleansed. They can be uncursed. But that is strange. It says, my name is Lloyd and I live around Houston, Texas, and I'm currently 19. Well, anyway, to what happened to me, I was 14 at the time, and it was a Saturday. My mother and I were painting my room at around 1 p.m. Hours later, we finished it at about 7 p.m. since we had help from my uncle and a couple of his friends, and they're carpenters. All that was left for it was to dry, and I couldn't sleep in there since it was wet paint, so the windows of my room were left open so it could dry, and I had to sleep on the couch in the living room of the house. And I went to sleep at about 10 p.m., and I woke up at 3 to 4 a.m., and I can't really remember the exact time, but I know it was around then. I woke up with a weird feeling like, you know, how it is when someone's watching you. I couldn't go to sleep, so I was looking at the ceiling to doze off, and after that, I felt like my foot rather, was tingly. The tingly of when your foot falls asleep, and I looked at it. Right after I looked at it, my whole body went numb, and I felt like this hand choking me. Well, I was freaked out, and at this time, and I tried to call my mom, and all I could say was a whisper. There was this voice in my head that told me, let's see, are you stupid enough to? Afterwards, it was a different language, and it was the man's voice. His voice was deep, and it seemed like it was mocking me. I was freaking out, so I started praying inside my head, and after I started praying, it let loose, and that hold it had on me was gone. I, being freaked out, went to my mom's room and told her, and she thought I had a bad dream, but I kept telling her I was wide awake throughout the whole thing. But she didn't believe me. I then slept with my mom since I was freaked out, but the next night I woke up at 3 to 4 a.m. on the couch again, and this time my whole body began to feel weak, and my mind was like it was being forced to lose consciousness. It's really different from falling asleep, and that's how I can describe it. I just started praying again, and that feeling went away. It keeps on happening, and I keep waking up at around 3 to 4 a.m., and that feeling always comes back. I just pray it goes away, and it's been happening to me ever since that incident that night. Well, I'm 19 now, and it still happens. I'm afraid of that feeling and any advice of what I should do. I've wondered what would happen if I let that feeling take over. I don't know. I wonder how long it takes that paint to dry. I thought she only slept on the couch one night for it to dry, but sounds like she spent a lot of nights there. I'm just joking, of course. I don't know. It's got to be pretty terrifying. It's got to be an absolutely terrifying event, for sure. Okay, I'm trying to remember to check the call board. It's over here now. Used to be over here, but now it's here. Nobody's calling, so we're in good shape. All right. Wow, we got one from Maine. You don't see stories from Maine very often, so it's kind of neat to see them. I think Maine, I've never been there, but I've always wanted to visit there. It looks beautiful. The encounter I'm about to relay happened when I was 5, and at the time I really didn't think much about all of this because I was just so young. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that I have no real explanation for what I saw as a child. My mom, grandmother, and sisters all drove up to Arcadia National Park in Maine to visit an aunt of mine that was staying in a cabin near the ocean. The cabin was in a pretty remote area of the park and was perched on a rocky cliff, and I somewhat remember being warned to stay away from the edge, and the cabin was secluded in the tall pines native to the area, and it was built for summer use only. That evening, my mom and I shared a room, and as many children do, when outside of their regular environment, I woke up very early in the morning, And I could hear cows making a lot of racket outside, and the walls were so thin that I literally could see outside through a knothole in the flimsy walls. The house was quiet as everyone else was still asleep, and I continued to watch the noisy crows. Was it crows? I thought it was cows. I could hear crows, outside making a lot of racket. Okay, I continued to watch the noisy crows through the hole in the wall of this very foggy morning, and my mom was still very sound asleep next to me, so as I continued to gaze out the hole, I heard the floor creak near the door. I turned around, and there was a man standing there. I wasn't afraid of him. I sat up in bed and watched him. He was just looking at me, and he wore a tri-cornered hat and short pants with some kind of long jacket, and he was dressed in clothes that I had never seen before on anyone that I knew at the time. After we both stared at each other a bit, he finally spoke. He seemed to be confused, and I remember he was asking me what time it was, and then he asked if I knew the whereabouts of someone, and I told him I didn't know. Then, funny enough, I asked him for a glass of water, and he again just stared at me with this confused look on his face. His English wasn't the English you hear today in America. It was a different accent, and I remember thinking that this man really spoke funny. Knowing myself as a child, I may have even told him so. We both stared at each other for a few minutes more, and then he turned around and left through the bedroom door, and I got out of bed and went to the hallway to see where he went. I think I was really hoping he'd be back with that glass of water. Well, he was gone, and all was quiet. My mother woke up and asked me what I was doing out of bed, and I told her that I was talking to the man, and she said, "Who, your uncle?" "No," I answered, "the man." She assumed I'd been dreaming and told me to go back to bed before I woke the rest of the house. This memory stayed with me for years, and it wasn't until I was in my 20s that my mom and I talked about this event, and I never even thought it could have been a ghost. Now I realize how odd it was to have seen someone dressed the way that he was in a really remote part of Maine in the wee hours of the morning. Yeah, that's pretty bizarre. I don't know. That's really crazy. But, again, I guess if it's a ghost, it's a ghost. Let's see what's going on here. Practice your old English. Yeah. Duke, you're cracking me up. Tales of Darkness. That's a dream similar to that once. I had a dream similar to that once. This is Tales of Darkness. It was a guy in a top hat, and he was asking me to get on the train. He jumped up on the train and motioned for me to follow, but I didn't. Wow, that's crazy. Huh. Where were you at the time? Or it was just in the dream, I guess. But still, that's pretty wild. Don't you ever wonder what would have happened? I don't know, Joe. I did a little quick look for it last night, but I didn't even find the right version of that story. I would have to look, and if I do find a quick version of it, or a Cliff Notes version of it, I'll definitely bring that to the show, but I don't know that I can find it now. Oh, sleeping, yeah. So Tales of the Darkness was sleeping when this happened, but still, that's a pretty profound dream, and you got to wonder. Yeah, I said to you, don't you wish you might have jumped on that train? And the person says, all the time. Yeah, you got to wonder if those are journeys that we're supposed to take, or could take, or is it a trap? You don't know. Is that the way to get your soul out of your body so they can jump in? I don't know. That's the kind of weird stuff you just don't know. And I think honestly, you probably did the right thing by not going, because who knows what that train represented and what would have been the outcome. But yeah, that's a great story. Those kind of dreams are really profound. I imagine it was a very lucid dream as well, right? Like it wasn't the usual weird dream. It was like really profoundly realistic. Yeah, so I mean, if you ever want to call in, any of you, if you want to share any of your stories, please feel free. It's again 720-923-0500. And if you're ever wondering what the phone number is, it's up there, the little number underneath the words Paranormal Portal. So that'll get you to me, and we can talk at length about your strange things you've experienced. Let me take a look at the time and see how we're doing here. We got 15 minutes left, 10 to 15 minutes. So, yeah, it was realistic. Yeah, it sounds like one of those really lucid dreams that really has purpose and meaning. But who knows what the purpose and meaning is? That's the tough part. You just don't know. And like I was saying, what if you jump on that train and that just means you're leaving your body and someone else can jump in? I don't know if you believe in that kind of stuff, but I've heard stories of walk-ins and these people just changing and becoming other people that even their closest friends and family don't recognize. And I think that could very well be walk-ins, just a different kind of possession. It's not the demonic kind where they just force you out, but perhaps they take advantage of a weakened state or something and get you out. But yeah, very, very creepy. All right. Well, thanks, Rick. I appreciate that. I don't know. It's just what came to my mind as soon as that was said. It was like, what do I want you to get on the train? What does that mean? And then it just jumped into my mind. Maybe it's the way to get you out of your body. Yeah, soul bandits, exactly. I don't know. Just my 2 cents. Again, there's no way you can know, and it's only speculation. But I believe that kind of stuff probably does happen. I've heard that bars and hospitals are a place that these spirits that want to take over bodies kind of hang out. They're just waiting for an opportunity. And one of the walk-in stories that I've heard actually came from my cousin, and she was telling me a story of a guy who had an accident and had died, but they were able to resuscitate him, except when he came back, he was not the same guy at all. He changed completely and isolated from all the friends that had been so close and important, and just moved away. And who knows whatever became of that person, but everyone that was close and important in his life was just discarded. Like whatever happened, it wasn't the same guy. And so I think that's probably a walk-in. So somebody else just went, ooh. And that same cousin had a dream, very profound dream, of her friend coming to her, his spirit, and saying thank you, and for all of the wonderful experiences and that they shared or whatever. I'm paraphrasing that very much, but whatever was brought back was not her friend. It was not the person she had been very close to. It was somebody completely different. So could that be a walk-in? I'm thinking yeah, but it's obviously open for interpretation. The dream ended with the train leaving the station and me standing there on the dock watching the guy in the top hat wave as he went away. Huh. Yeah, well, maybe it was a beautiful thing. I don't know. Maybe that was a crossroads in your life. Maybe it represented some kind of choice. Those kind of things are so powerful and so ambiguous, it's hard to know. But really cool story. Thanks for sharing that. Scary concept. I believe it, though. Yeah, I do, too. Yeah. I don't know. The reason for the hospitals and the bars is because it's believed when you drink alcohol, your aura gets really weak. And, especially if you're getting drunk, like if you're really drunk, your aura is really, really weak. And, of course, the aura is not only our natural energy field, but it's a natural protection. So, get holes in your aura, it's believed. And, of course, in hospitals, people are coming in all states and just sometimes just barely clinging to life. So could be a good opportunity for someone to come in. But let's do another story or two. Let's see, what was this one? So this one's coming out of Iowa. It's a real quick one. It says, well, ever since my dad's old house in Missouri, I've had experiences. I'm now 20, living in Iowa with my mom, my stepdad, and my little sister. I still have experiences, and I can name a few. For instance, while reading a prayer I found out loud in my room, the Lord's Prayer, I heard a loud knock come from inside my room above my head on my bed. I blew it off as a coincidence. Then shortly after, I still had things happening, such as my floor fan in my room was on and set to rotate. I went to the restroom and came back, and it was rotating. It was set not to rotate. Came back and it was rotating. See, the thing is, it was on my dresser. Also, to make it rotate, you have to pull up on the tab and to stand still, you push down. Everyone else in the house was asleep. So the latest thing that happened is that I moved down into the basement room this summer because it's cooler. And I was setting up my alarm clock before I set the original time. I set the alarm for 5:15. Oh, we got a couple calls all of a sudden. Okay, just a minute. I'll get to the calls. Or a call. One of them hung up already. Don't worry about the time, guys. If you want to call in, call in. We can go as long as we want. I'm happy to talk to you guys. So let me get to the calls in just a second here. It said I set the alarm for 5:15, which is when I get up for work. Then the original time, I double-checked the alarm and the time to make sure everything was okay. I went to bed that night as usual, and my alarm clock went off. I got up, turned it off, and the clock said 5:15 a.m. I was going to get ready for work, and I noticed it's still pretty dark outside. In Iowa, it starts to get light out around 5:15 or 6 a.m., and which was not the case. I went into the family room, and I saw the clock on the wall, and it showed 1:05 a.m. Then I went back to my room and checked my cell phone. It said 1:05 a.m. I went back to my alarm, which was turned off when I left. The switch was turned on. How? I don't know. That's pretty strange. Okay, so let's get to these calls. There's two of them. Oh, one of them hung up again. Let's go to this one. It's from Anonymous. Welcome to the show. Hello? Are you there? I can hear someone. Hello, hello. Going once, going twice. And no go. Okay. Well, whoever it was decided not to say anything. So that's okay. It was blocked anonymous. So I don't know what that person was going to say. And someone else was calling in. But, this is Diane. Okay. She's been on like 3 different versions. But hello, 330, Diane? Hello? Are you there?
Hi, are you there?
Yeah, you should listen through your phone.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hi, are you there? Yeah, you should listen through your phone. Can you hear me? I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, okay, now I can. My phone is acting weird again.
Yeah, I can hear a real delay.
I tried to call you a couple of different times and there was no tone, I can't hear the show in the back like you usually do when you call.
Okay.
And this happened both on my regular phone and on my cell phone.
Oh, that's weird.
I don't know what's going on.
Can you hear me now?
Whether it's mine or yours. But since it happened with both phones, it might be yours. So you might want to look into it.
Well.
Okay? I can't hear you unless I turn up. Oh, my God, I can't hear you. It might be yours. So you might want to look into it. Okay? I can't hear you unless I turn up.
Dee,
unless I turn up my tablet slightly.
Yeah, but
I'm sorry.
That's a delay.
This is driving me crazy. Why do I have trouble calling your show?
I don't know. But obviously you really can't hear me, can you? Until the delay happens and you hear it on your tablet. Okay. Well, I don't think
I can't hear you on the phone. I can only hear you on my tab.
Okay,
Can you hear the tab in the background?
No, I can, yeah, but that's okay. What did you want to say? Just go ahead and just say what you want.
Can you hear the tab in the background? I can, yeah, but that's okay. What did you want to say? Well, this is really weird, man. Okay, well, I was going to say, the term walk-in that you're using, you're asking if this is a walk-in.
Okay.
And the walk-in thing...
Just keep talking.
It's Ruth Montgomery's term.
Okay.
I think it was back in the 80s, and it has a lot to do with a soul contract. And so it's not the same as what you're talking about. What you're talking about is really an attempt at probably long-term possession, but it's a short-term possession. And yeah, it can happen because people if you're not in control of your body and you're not totally in your body, something else can be. And this is fair warning to anybody. And we'll have another public service message, like how not to overheat your power strip, is don't leave your body unprotected by moving out of it without protecting yourself first. Like, some of us like to travel, and we don't even know we're traveling.
Okay.
You need to protect yourself before you go traveling.
Okay.
And that means with drugs, alcohol, or any other, or even just meditation. In some cases, that can leave you open. Or fright. Here's another thing.
Okay.
Fright, being afraid, very, like something startling you. Back in the old days, the older shamans said you could be like startled out of a soul piece and lose a part of your total soul energy that way, or scared, or some other sudden thing.
Okay, gotcha.
So I think that all has bearing on it there.
Okay.
But the correct term, it really is a possession.
Okay, I gotcha. Can you hear me now?
It's not a walk-in. A walk-in is a soul contract.
Can you hear me now? Dee, can you hear me? I don't know. I don't know what's wrong, ladies and gentlemen.
I can hear you only on my tab.
Okay.
No, the phone is still goofy. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. I don't think it's you because Wes is saying he tried to call in and couldn't hear anything either.
I'm going to cut this short because of that.
Okay, go ahead. All right, thank you, my dear.
Right. Okay, take care. Love you guys. Right. Take care of yourselves. If you have any questions, get in touch with me on, leave me a message on Facebook or something. But I mean on my page.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Love you. Bye.
Love you too. See you now. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. Something might be up with this. It looks like it's working in my Skype settings, but I know that once I connected this TV to the tower, that it screwed up my sound settings and I had to reset them. But it looks like Skype is now hearing my microphone, so I'm hoping that it's fixed, but she still said she couldn't hear me. Let me reconnect the phone line, and then we'll see if we can get Wes to call in. So just stand by a minute. I'm just going to disconnect this quick and reconnect it, and then we'll try again and see if this is working. If Wes, if you want to try to call in again, I'd appreciate it because I do want to know that this is working. Let's see. Okay, so let me reconnect. Okay, so it should be reconnected now. Let me refresh this page. According to that, it's connected. Let me refresh this. Yep, this is now showing that I'm connected. So, Wes, if you're still there, will you try calling in again and tell me? I won't answer it right away, but just tell me in the chat if you're able to hear the show and hear me talking. And if you have something that you want to share on the show, I'd love to hear it too. But I don't know. It's just being real funny. And I really hate when things update and I'm not ready for it because there's no indication that this stuff happens until it's like showtime. And then all of a sudden I find out how broken everything is. And that's just irritates the hell out of me. So hopefully this is now working. Or if someone wants to call in just to tell me if the phone is working, that'd be great. If you can hear me on that phone line is what I'm mostly wondering. So if you're hearing the show as I'm talking, I guess I could call on my own phone. That's probably the easiest. Hold on while I call the show. Okay. Oh, somebody did call. Okay. So I'm just curious if I'm hearing the show or not. It must be working. Yeah. Okay, good. It sounds like everything's working good. So, wow, there's a lot of people calling in. So let me see here. Can you hear me now, Wes? Are you there? No? Nothing?
Now I can hear you.
Oh, good,
Yeah, now
good.
it's coming through.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was weird. It was I tried calling in earlier, but it was same thing the last caller was having problems with. I couldn't hear anything on my end. It
Oh.
was like I was calling into the confessionals or something.
Yeah. Merkel's tin cans and string. No,
Yeah.
that's cool. Yeah, how you doing
No,
tonight?
I wanted to call in. We should do a show about Rachel's eyes. I've actually talked to the mother, and the short version of the story is her daughter was blind and had diabetes, had all kinds of health issues, and um, this she had a roommate in college that was placed with her in kind of like this disability area, and the roommate. It's too long to go into right now. What you're sure almost over, isn't it, Brent?
It's as long as I want it to be, so I mean, we can go until you're done.
Well, no, I don't want to hold you up
No, it's
too much tonight. We can go into it another night, though. I can go into the whole thing, but it's a very fascinating story. And her mother ended up meeting the roommate, and the roommate's the girl's name was Rachel, and she always wore sunglasses. She wore like a jumpsuit. She had special food that was delivered to her. Her father was a general in the military, her supposed father.
mhm.
And one day she found out she went to fall, or she was falling, and the mother caught her, and the glasses came down, and she didn't have human eyes. Her eyes were what you would describe like a gray alien.
Ooh.
Sounds like a bizarre story until you hear the mother tell it.
Okay.
And then when you hear the mother tell it, you'll walk away going, and I'll see if I can't dig up a clip of an interview she did one time where she talked about it. We can play it on the show. But I talked to the mother in depth about this.
Uh-huh.
Rachel ended up getting pushed down a flight of stairs. She ended up getting killed down the road, but she was trying to be integrated with this this kid, I guess, in college.
Wow.
And I won't ruin it for because the end of the story is really, really fascinating. What Rachel ended up doing for this woman's daughter ended up actually curing her, and the mother talks about that. But her daughter ended up dying about 15, 20 years later. Wasn't really expected to live that long.
Uh-huh.
But the whole story of Rachel's eyes is fascinating. We should do a show on it. I think we're going to do a roundtable
Oh, good.
with you, me, Don, and that other guy, aren't we?
Yep. That other guy, yeah. The other guy said he could make it, so we should be good. When do you want to do it?
Yeah. Whenever, man. Whenever's good for you. I'm happy to jump on, and
Okay.
you'll just have to see if the other guy is able to, and when you and Don are able to,
Okay.
we could do a whole show on a lot of other things. But the Rachel's Eye story is a fascinating account. Probably one of the most fascinating accounts I've ever heard.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'd love to cover that because I'm not familiar with it myself, and of course I'll look into it before then too, so at least I have an informed idea of what the hell it's all about. But it sounds absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, and I'll dig up the interview the mother did a couple
cool.
years back with Howard Hughes, and she went on there, and it makes you really go, I don't know what the story,
Yeah.
I don't think this woman's lying. And I've talked to her, and she doesn't do interviews anymore. I don't think her health is that good because I begged her to come on the show. She wouldn't come on.
Oh.
And we talked for probably 2 hours, and she told me the whole story again about her daughter and meeting Rachel. And it's called Rachel's Eyes because they didn't realize what she was until that moment where she was falling and the mother caught her and the glasses came down and her eyes weren't human eyes.
Oh, man.
She looked human otherwise,
Right.
which is really bizarre.
Oh, that's cool.
But there's way more to the story than that. That's just a few nuggets of the story.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds brilliant. Okay. Well, I'll talk to Don and we'll iron out when it could be, but it maybe even a week from Saturday, if you wanted to do it then. Amy Bue's going to be on Saturday, by the way.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, Amy's great.
Yeah, she is.
Amy's awesome.
She's a great person.
Lady.
Yeah. Yeah. So she's going to be on Saturday. If you want to be a part of that show, you're welcome to. Love to have you as well.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. And sorry for calling in right as your show's ending, but I tried earlier, but I don't know, technical issues. Gotta love them.
Yeah, they happen at the worst times, but I'm glad we got it sorted. So I appreciate it, brother. It's great to hear from you. And I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to that.
Sounds good. Have a good night, Brent.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon. There we go, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Wes Germer. And it looks like Diane's actually going to try us one more time. So, Diane, are you there?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can. We can hear each other perfect now.
Wonderful, I can hear you. Yay.
So
I'm so happy.
I wanted to apologize for last night, though, too, because I noticed that you were calling in, and I didn't look at the call board for a long time. So I do apologize, and I saw that you ended up disconnecting anyway. But I just wanted to apologize because I don't like to miss calls. So, but yeah, welcome back, and if you want to go a little more in depth into what you're saying, that's great.
Okay, now maybe I can say it a little better because I had to listen to the tab to hear.
Sure.
Anyway, I was going to say that's something a lot of people don't understand, and it's been kind of a misused term, is that a walk-in was actually a very specific term that Ruth Montgomery came up with, because a walk-in literally walks into the body. If a walk-in walks out, the body dies.
Oh.
There is nobody else home.
Right.
That's the walk-in. It's
Okay.
a contract. It's a soul contract.
Okay.
What's called a soul contract? If somebody is done with their life and willing to relinquish their body, and there is a need, and this is, I don't know, maybe some people will disagree, it sounds hinky, but I am one of those people.
Okay.
If there is a need, I guess sometimes things happen that people need to come in and do something here, and don't want to go through the childhood process again, the whole process of birth and childhood and all that. And I know that I never want to be a kid again.
Yeah.
Just reviewing the memories. But I have, and how you would know that you were actually a walk-in is you would make usually there's a huge change.
Right.
Between before and after. And a lot of times people get quite spiritual afterwards, or have other abilities, or, maybe they become very empathic or very psychic or very whatever. And I had a lot of things happen. I had my whole style of art changed. I was still an artist, but I was not the same kind of art. It was very weird. And for a while, I was even confused. Even the walk-in themselves, because of the process of walking in, the process of coming into a body, there are rules about coming into a body. Most of us don't remember the contract until later. And I know that before I came here, all I could remember is that I was talking to a very old person in a cave. I could remember that there was a death. I had a prophetic dream of my death coming up, or that is Diane. I think it might be another version of me. I still am wondering about this, because it's almost as if sometimes I think we're really, what walks in is a different version of ourselves. But the other person, this Diane, that was born Diane, she was also an artist and so on, but she was into making costumes and stuff and sewing, and she could just sew things. And when I try to do that, I can't do that. I can't do some of the things she could do, and she couldn't do some of the things I can now do, which you say, you can learn it.
Sure.
But that isn't quite right. It was like I came in close enough to maybe pass for a while, but not quite the same person. Also, the other people around me, close to me in my life, seemed to change. I looked at it later and thought, what if it was me who changed? And I'm remembering my friends and family different because I'm remembering my other life.
Oh, okay.
You see?
Sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, I remember them, their energy and their mannerisms being different because I'm remembering another life, really. And, I started to think once I started to think like that, then a few things became clear. I am here for a purpose. Obviously, look what I do now.
Right.
Paranormal investigation and threat elimination.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I had a reason to be here. And a great need. There is a great need for people like me. I mean, there's a great need for, apparently, just like you think, nobody wants to leave, for instance, child spirits alone on the non-physical level. Nobody wants to see people being, I can't say nobody, but obviously it feels to me like I came here with a lot of purpose, okay, and just couldn't remember it all.
Okay.
But what you're talking about is also very real, and it is a gradual breaking down. If you have somebody who gets drunk all the time and leaves their body, and quite often people do when they're drunk, they do open themselves up to possession, because if you're not in control of your body, somebody else, if they're a little bit more stronger, a little more strong-willed, or a little bit more powerful, can gradually work their way in there. And after several times, I have seen it happen. So you got to be careful. That's why I say be careful about any of this stuff you do. It wasn't meant to be done, just in a silly way. It's something you need to kind of think about. Now, most of the time, nothing's going to happen. But if you're in what we would call a bad hood, a bad neighborhood, oh yeah. I mean, if you're around people that already have a problem, a possession problem, oh, you're fresh meat. So you have to be careful.
Sure.
You have to be careful. And of course, short-term possession is only a step towards an attempt at long-term possession.
Sure.
And as soon as you notice it, you have to start taking steps against that. And we may talk about that sometime. Maybe I'll come and talk about how to do that sometime. But
Sure.
I don't know. But it's just, guys, be careful out there. Whatever you do, do it really positively and take care of yourselves, and make sure you're in the right frame of mind and around the right people, and you should be okay. But, I don't want to see anybody... I don't want... This story you told the other night of the man who thought the kid was possessed with behavioral problems, and oh my God.
That just broke my heart.
That hurt.
Yeah, that was painful.
Oh, geez.
Wow.
It does. Oh my goodness. I think really people need more information on this so they don't do crazy stuff like that, thinking they're going to help somebody. That would never do anything to a demon. Hot water doesn't do anything to a demon. They laugh at you.
Well, yeah, obviously it was a brutal case of somebody obviously being somehow disturbed or mentally ill or possessed themselves, just doing something horrible to a child. It's just it's a heartbreaker. Terrible.
A lot of us, the dad was probably the possessed one, probably.
Yeah.
Because why would you do that to a kid otherwise? That doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
No normal person is going to do that to a child. So he was probably the possessed one, and maybe it wore on his mind that, I mean, I see a lot of people, what they do is they pass the buck. It's like, no, it's not me, it's this other person.
Yeah.
When stuff is happening, they're looking for a scapegoat, but
right, yeah, projection.
Just happens to be a child.
Basic psychological projection, I'm guessing, but yeah, terrible stuff.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So, I'm looking at that and I'm saying, God, we need more education. I mean, the fact that we don't get this kind of education is really not good, and I feel like as soon as I get things straightened out, I am trying to move right now.
Oh,
I
good.
found a place to move to.
Where is it still in
And
Ohio?
he's going to be very happy. Yeah, well, the first move is going to be here in Ohio to a better place so I have a better base of ops. But Marcus has said that he's got land, and if he's still amenable to it, he would be open to having earthships on that land.
Oh, cool.
And I have talked about earthships before. And we were talking about the paranormal paradise, paranormal community, where we can be us and not have to worry about, we can kind of look after each other, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Kind of help each other, and don't have to be afraid of what people may think. So it's been a dream of mine for a long time, and several people also said, "Oh wow, my tab just went completely out. I think I'm being messed with. I might have to kick some, butt here. I mean, phones and the tab and everything.
Sure.
I think I'm gonna probably have to kick some butt. But I did earlier today. I was kicking some butt earlier today. I've been having problems moving, and it's been weird problems, right?
They don't want
so
you to go.
To Deborah.
They don't want you to go, Dee.
Yeah, they don't want me to leave this place because I'm an easy target here. They don't want me to move to a place with security. The place I'm going is going to have security. See?
Oh, good.
And it's going to be much harder to get to me then. I know this. I already kicked something earlier today when me and Deb were talking. Deb says, "You know what? The kind of stuff you're describing, I think someone or something, this is purposeful." I said, "I'm feeling like it too. I was just calling you to make sure I'm not being paranoid." Says, "Nope, I don't think you're being paranoid."
Oh, cool.
It sounds like someone doesn't want you to move.
Right.
Well, I've been having trouble with it for 15 years. I think she's right. Somebody wants me to stay right here where it's difficult and unsecured and really hard, and I have to be in survival mode all the time, which distracts you from being able to see what's really going on a lot of times.
Right.
I think that's what's actually going on. So I have maybe some spiritual work to do to kick. But I kicked something earlier today, and I don't want to describe that right now to be too long. But
sure. Oh,
So I think I'm still, and it must be pretty important that I stay glued right here because I've been glued here for 15 years. So whatever it is, once I break out of here, once I break out of this and into a better place, I think a whole lot of things are going to change.
Oh, good. I hope so.
But, right. And the fact that this opportunity came up that Marcus offered with the land, that's something I've been trying to do for years, too, is find some land to have the Earthship community, to have a positive and nurturing and how can I say it, safe. We would have our own protections, of course.
Sure.
Being who we are.
Right. There you go.
And it's a safe base of ops. Duke is kind of interested. He said, yeah, he wants his mountaintop, retreat where he's, I don't know, I forgot what he likened it to, but it's sort of like your own bat cave, right?
Right.
But I think we need a base of operations because, in 2020, things are going to start to rock and roll, and by 21, it's really going to get interesting.
Yeah.
And this would be just in time. We will be doing this just in time. We have just enough time if this works out, if we can get this to work out. We have just enough time to get things built and prepare, and not very much more time. So those of you who are interested in this, please do get ready and send your positive intent. And if something happens, if somehow the thing with Marcus falls through, we'll intend for other land to come available. But he was kind enough to offer a horse ranch.
Oh, cool.
And
all right.
Basically, so, it's like, get it together, people. The reason I'm moving is to get free of whatever is here. That's the first step. The next step is going to be we get down there and start staking it out for the real fortress, okay? And I'm not using fortress in a negative sense. It's just as who we are, we do kind of need protection and a place where we're understood. So many of us feel like we have no place where we're understood except maybe your show, Brent.
Well, you never know. You never know. I don't know what the future holds, Dee, but I just know that I'll be doing the portal until I just can't anymore.
Right. Your show, Duke's show, things like that, that's where we feel safe. Talking, we actually feel safe to talk. And we need a physical location where we can feel safe to be who we are.
Well,
so this has been a dream of mine. And so I love you. That's all I wanted to say, sweetheart.
Oh, good. I think you did good, and I'm glad we could finally hear each other.
Thank you for giving us this forum.
Oh, you're welcome.
To be able to meet each other.
Yeah, there's
and get these done.
A lot of amazing people have been introduced to me through the chat room and all you guys that participate. I just love all of you, and it's just a real pleasure and an honor. And I'm glad that you guys continue to show up whenever they turn the lights on. That just is the biggest thrill for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I came in, the last person I talked to, I thought it was an old Indian, but it turned out later on to be an old Egyptian. It was Seshet, the wife of Thoth, for those of you who don't remember. And after talking to Cherie and Chris, they know who she is, and they remember her too. Mm. And we're techies, kind of. We have something to do with altering, and you've asked about this, how come I get to be able to send rain and whatever. Some of us did come here as techies trying to fix things. So, investigate what the problems are and come in here and squash the bugs.
Yeah, amen.
And I think, yeah. So, and some of you are probably thinking, okay, this woman's crazy out of her mind, and I don't care. But I doubt it, because this is a portal, and I think you should be used to it by now.
Yeah.
Okay. I love you guys.
All right, my lady. Well, thank you so much for calling in and being a part of the shows, and have a wonderful night.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Good night. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I guess that's the extended version, almost 1.5 hours of love and fun here on the Bedtime Stories from Beyond. I hope you've enjoyed it. I always enjoy bringing it to you. Thank you for you guys pointing out that I had problems with my call-in board. That was something I hadn't anticipated, but I guess it's something I should have checked better. But I'm always learning here as I'm doing the portal. It's just like life. You can't train for it. You just got to live it. So anyway, guys, I love you all. I hope you have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for being here. Love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. All right, everybody, good night. And I'll be back tomorrow night for the Friday version. 2 hours of paranormal fun on the portal tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 days a week. There's a paranormal portal happening right here on our YouTube channel. So be sure to come by and check us out. But you guys have a great night. Have a wonderful Friday tomorrow. And I'll be waiting for you right here at 7 p.m. So Pacific time. So whatever that means for you, you'll have to figure it out. But good night, everybody, and take care, and sweet dreams.